Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari 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 Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksunmiritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Tadani Sapadantika Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Bhayemacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all so much for coming. Haribol Haridas Prabhu. Thank you for coming. So the title of this class today is Baby Damodar, because this is Damodar month. Baby Damodar, Breaking Pots and Misconceptions. So, yeah, let's talk about him. So, this song that we sang in the temple room, maybe you were there a little while ago, this beautiful song about Baby Damodar. So this whole month is called Karthik or Damodar month. Karthik is named after Radharani. Her mother is Kirtika Devi, and the daughter of Kirtika is Kartika. So this month is dedicated to Srimati Radharani and the mercy of Srimati Radharani. She's very, very merciful during this time. So any devotional service that you do during this time is more, it's accentuated. So especially, Baby Damodar's favorite thing is if you can offer a little ghee wick every day and sing the song. So just take cotton, twist it up, stick it in ghee, or if you don't have ghee, you could stick it in some sesame oil, and then you can offer those little lights every day. Or it's a day like Catholic people during Lent, they will give up something they like to do or do something a little extra as a devotional service. So it's that kind of thing. You know, you could give up something that's impossible to give up, like chocolate. Wow, a month without chocolate, amazing. One of my friends, he decided he would do something, sorry that this is blocking you. One of my friends decided that he thought he would do something really, really hard for the Damodar month. He decided he would give up criticizing other people. Wow. He said it lasted for about 10 minutes or maybe till about, till about noontime or something. So anyway, the point is do something, you know, do something as an offering to Baby Damodar and get the mercy of Radharani and Baby Damodar. So yeah, so this month is dedicated to celebrating the pastime of this naughty baby Krishna called Damodar, being bound up by the love of his mother Yasoda in his home village called Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Vrindavan is called Vraja, Vrajabhumi, Vrindavan. It's the land of sweetness, where a personal relationship with the Supreme Person excels all worship of him in moods of power and majesty. So imagine having a personal relationship with the Supreme Person who is beautiful, playful, and delightful. Yeah, such a beautiful thought, isn't it? So when we think of God, what would you think God would be like? Different people have different ideas, different conceptions. Does anybody want to say, like, when you think of God, what do you think God should be like or would be like? Anybody have any thoughts? Yes?
Powerful.
Powerful. He'd be powerful, right? Great. What else?
He's approachable.
All attractive?
Approachable.
Approachable.
Compassionate and loving.
Compassionate and loving. Good. Any other ideas what God would be like?
Well, I think we see that among us the different statues, deities of our Hindu God.
Mm-hmm.
I think that personified each of that, where each one of us coming from, and how we like Ganeshas, Sri Krishnas.
So they have different aspects.
Yes, so
Different aspects.
we individually, as a creature of the God, has made a figure of God. How we want to perceive it, how we want to worship it.
So they have different good qualities that we would like to emulate.
Right.
That's a good idea. Okay, good, yeah. So one thing someone might say, well, God is everywhere. You said powerful, all powerful, all knowing, right? If you look up the word God in a dictionary, most likely the dictionary would say something like the supreme controller, something like that, right? Or some people might say an energy or a light. A lot of people say, well, I just believe that God is a light. Or a force, right? May the force be with you. Or maybe some people might say, well, he's jealous and angry. We have a jealous and angry God. Or maybe somebody might say, the oldest person of all. Maybe you've been to Europe or seen medieval paintings or the Sistine Chapel, right? In Rome, where God is pictured, you know, holding out his hand to Adam, it must be, right? So kind of like, he's pictured kind of like an old man, sometimes sitting on a cloud, cursing people to hell, or awarding heaven. that kind of idea. Or some people might say, well, God couldn't be a person because that would limit him, right? A lot of people say that. The German philosopher Nietzsche, maybe you've heard this before. Hi, Paul. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for coming. So, yeah, the German philosopher Nietzsche said that he could only believe in a God who dances. Wow. So he was getting close, right? And then have you ever read the poetry of William Blake? One of my favorite English poets. He wrote beautiful poetry, but he also did like Kim. He did beautiful illuminations of his verses. So he said something very beautiful, I think. He said, God appears and God is light to those poor souls who dwell in night, but doth a human form display to those who dwell in realms of day. Wow. So he had some idea of God having a personal form, you know? So some people say, well, I don't believe in God. And so I would say, well, okay, tell me about the God that you don't believe in, right? And they might say, well, judgmental, angry, always cursing people to hell forever, right? So I would say, well, I don't believe in that God either. I don't believe in that kind of a judgmental, angry God who curses people to hell forever. What about India? Like you mentioned, the reverence for the different deities in India. So it's interesting because in India, a lot of people who come to our community are from India. In India, it seems like many people just don't really want to offend any of the gods. You know, they're gods, but I would say these are gods with a small g. They're called, Prabhupada uses the term demigods. So they're kind of like, if you use Christian terminology, you might say archangels, or they're sort of the cabinet ministers of the supreme God. And they're there for different universal functions like controlling the water, controlling the air, controlling different cosmic energies, right? So, but some people feel like, well, my grandmother worshipped this God, or my grandfather worshipped that God, so we got to make sure we cover all the bases, right? Kind of a feeling like that, because we don't want anyone to get offended. There's kind of a sense like that. Don't want anyone to get offended. Of course, Lord Shiva is considered to be the greatest devotee of Krishna. And I don't know if you guys have heard this beautiful story of Lord Shiva when he comes to Vrindavan. I think there's time. I don't want to take too much time, but once Lord Shiva came to the house of Nanda, Krishna's parents in Vrindavan are Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda. So once Lord Shiva came and knocked at the door, and Mother Yasoda opened the door, and she saw this really quite scary looking sadhu. He was covered with ashes and kind of skulls, and he had the Ganga kind of coming out, but he was pretty scary looking. And he said he just wanted the darshan of her baby, Krishna. And Mother Yasoda thought, well, no, my Lala, he'll get so scared if he sees someone like you. No, I don't want him to get a sadhu fright from the beginning of his life. Then maybe for the rest of his life, he won't even like sadhus anymore. So no, you can't have his darshan. So then what happened was this great sadhu, who was actually Lord Shiva, just went and sat down under a tree near the house, just outside. So what happened next was baby Krishna just started crying and crying and crying. And Mother Yasoda, she tried everything that usually worked, feeding him her breast milk, giving him sweets, this, and this. Nothing worked, and he wouldn't stop crying. So finally, Nanda Maharaj came home after herding cows. He said, what's going on here? Why is our baby Lala Krishna, why is he crying like that? Can't you stop him from crying? What kind of a mother are you anyway? And she said, I don't know, nothing's working, he won't stop crying. And so he said, well, did you offend any saintly person? Oh, she said, well, there was that scary looking sadhu who came to the door. Maybe he got offended. And so then they sent one of the gopis out to go find him, and there he was sitting out under a tree a little distance away. And they said, please come back, please come back. So they brought him back to the house and gave him the darshan of baby Krishna, and then Krishna stopped crying. So Lord Shiva is considered the greatest devotee of Krishna, and what happens in Vrindavan is when you go to Vrindavan, you have to go and take permission from Lord Shiva to enter the Vrindavan pastimes, to have darshan. He's called Gopishwar Shiv. He's the protector of the rasa dance, Krishna's famous rasa dance. So whenever they make offerings to Krishna in Vrindavan, they always give the Mahaprasadam, the first remnants, to Lord Shiva. So you like that story? It's a very special story. So, but the point I'm making is that very few people are actually hearing or accepting the authority of the scriptures or the shastras, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or Bhagavad Purana, where Krishna describes himself, or Srimad Bhagavatam, where great saints and teachers, acharyas, describe Krishna. And how do they describe him? He's the absolute truth. He's the origin of all material and spiritual worlds. One scholar speculated, this is around the turn of the 19th century, he was speculating, well, that naughty Krishna in Vrindavan, he couldn't be the same as the Krishna who speaks Bhagavad Gita with so much brilliant intelligence. No, they couldn't be the same. And then, of course, that Krishna who has so many wives in Dwarka, that must be a third one. So he made this philosophy, there must be 3 different people. Well, no, he was wrong. There's only one Krishna, and he has so many inconceivable pastimes and aspects. One brilliant scholar came from Germany to India, and this is an interesting story, he was traveling all over and having darshan of different temples, but everywhere he went, he saw that these different deities had a chopper or something like that. They were doing some kind of work. And then finally he came to this temple of Radha and Krishna, and he said, oh, this must be the supreme. Why? Because they're just playing, right? Because God shouldn't have to have a job, right? God should just be able to just play, right? If you're doing something you don't like to do, that's work. But if you're just playing, so God should be able to just be playing. And that's what he does. Krishna just plays. And how does he describe himself in Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam? Many, many avatars. Maybe you've seen the movie Avatar. So avatar means someone who descends from a higher realm. So there's so many avatars of Krishna. Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Vamana. Even Lord Buddha is considered an avatar. Or he sends his son, Lord Jesus Christ. Or it's described, Prabhupada describes in his commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, that his servant Muhammad. So he has so many avatars that he sends. But in Bhagavad Gita, he says he is the source of those avatars. He is the source of those material and spiritual worlds. And he says, this is so beautiful, I really love this, one of my favorite verses in Bhagavad Gita. He says that everything is strung on him like pearls are strung on a thread, right? So, so beautiful. So if you have, maybe some of you ladies have a string of pearls at home. So if that string of pearls is really old and maybe kind of broken, you can see the string. That means you have to take it to the repair shop and get it fixed, right? Because a good, properly strung string of pearls, you don't see the thread. So think about that. Krishna is happy to be unseen by ordinary people like us in the world. He is the unseen thread that strings everything together. I find that to be so, so beautiful. Another thing is that he has a form, but that form is not material. So people say, oh, God can't have a form. Yeah, right, he doesn't have a material form. He has a form made of, unlike our forms, his form is made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Not like ours, earth, water, fire, air, and other unmentionable things. And he doesn't change his body like we do. You know, I didn't ask to be born in Chicago at a certain date by a certain set of parents. Kim was also born. You're the same hospital, right? Same year? Yeah, we were born in the same hospital, same year, same hospital. So we didn't, Kim, did you ask to be born in the Waters family? No, you were put there, you know? So Krishna doesn't change his body like we do. He comes in the same original body. He's the avatari, the source of all avatars. And he says in Bhagavad Gita something really, really important for us to remember and understand, that if we understand the real nature of of his spiritual, his non-material nature, of his form, then we no longer have to take birth in this material world. Just by understanding in truth the nature of his form, that will stop the whole repetition of birth and death for us. Pretty far out. So then, okay, what about Baby Damodar, this naughty baby we sing about during the holy month of Karthik or Damodar? So in this Damodar pastime, so loving, in this holy village of Vrindavan, the supreme controller, right? The dictionary definition, the supreme controller, he's lost control. He's lost control, and he's being controlled by the love of his devotee mother. He enjoys appearing in his own hometown, home village, Vrindavan, Vrajabhumi, just as this charming baby, playful boy, or sometimes as a beautiful youth, his original form as a beautiful youth. And why does he do that? Just to please his dearest devotees, these residents of Vrindavan, these simple village people. They're not big scholars. They're not, tech titans. They're just simple people herding cows and making cow dung patties, sticking them on walls. Very, very simple people. But this is where he can be himself and be at home and not have to put on any airs and graces of great majesty or power. So so the song we sing this month about Krishna is being glorified in this pastime of teasing and testing his beloved devotee Mother Yasoda, and finally allowing her to bind him up with the ropes, but not the household ropes, because no ropes in the neighborhood were enough to bind his belly. So the devotee who sings this beautiful song says, your belly, he worships Krishna's belly. He says, your belly is the source of all the universes, but and no one can bind that belly. So he worships the belly, which is really cute, So he can't be bound only by love. He can only be bound by the love of his devotees. So Mother Yasoda, she's at the end of her rope, literally, right? She's at the end of her rope. He wants to drink. I know the feeling. Gauravani's here. So Gauravani was quite naughty when he was a child. And that's why I only have one child, because he kind of put me over. But he was not, his naughtiness could not compare to Baby Damodar. So I was sometimes at the end of my rope as well. But anyway, so here's Baby Krishna, Baby Damodar. He wants to drink her breast milk. And the milk is boiling over on the stove. And she has to put him down for a moment to get that milk that's about to boil over. And she's doing it for him, right? It's all milk to feed him. No, he doesn't like that. And so she puts him down, and she goes to rescue the milk, and he gets angry that he put her down, that she put him down. And so he takes a rock, and he throws a rock at that pot of yogurt and butter that's hanging up. They would put them hang up, right? And he steals the butter and yogurt, and he tracks buttery footprints all over the clean floor. And then he feeds the butter to his friends. And then he even feeds the butter to his monkey friends. And when Mother Yasoda catches him, she says, you're acting like a monkey. Maybe you should just go live in the jungle like a monkey. And then she says, oh no, he's so naughty. Maybe he would really do it. So she said, no, don't say that, don't say that. So anyway, the supreme person who makes all the rules of religion, or dharma, you could say righteous action, is breaking all the rules in Vrindavan. Why? In order to exchange love with his dearest devotees like his Mother Yasoda. So somebody might ask, okay, well, how can the original oldest person have a mother and father, right? Well, if he wants to enjoy loving exchanges with his greatest devotees who love him, thinking of him as their baby, why not, right? Who am I? Who are we to tell him that he has to fit into some kind of a stereotyped idea of who God is and what he can do and what he can't do, right? That's the point of this class, smashing pots and smashing misconceptions, right? So some people say, well, he can't have a form, he can't be naughty, he can't be playful, he can't do this, he can't do that. He has to be really serious and majestic and omnipotent, like, Alleluia, Alleluia. Well, that's really beautiful also. If you go Last year, my husband and I went to the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception on Christmas Eve. It was so beautiful. It was so majestic. The choir, and there was like a bell choir of all these bells. It was so moving. So that's another aspect that's very, very beautiful. But in Vrindavan, he doesn't do majestic like that. He doesn't do omnipotent and awe and reverence. So I guess the point is, welcome, Sonia, nice to see you. So to be a person exchanging love, I would say, is so much more than just being a force. Do you agree? Like, maybe you're married to somebody. Did you ever say to your husband and wife, you're being really impersonal? You ever feel like that? You're not really here for me. You don't really understand me. You're kind of being very impersonal. So that's, I mean, Krishna does have an impersonal aspect, but he doesn't have the defect of being impersonal. It's just one of his aspects. The impersonal Brahman is the light coming from his body, right? So is he required to be formless or just a light or sit on a cloud like a kind of frustrated old man, judging people, cursing people to hell at his whim? If he chooses, why can't he be mischievous and playful and naughty and full of fun and beyond any naughty child we've ever seen in this world, right? You have naughty kids?
Speaking of naughty child, I think about a coincidence. I just recently, last week, I came across with young people, young Indian couple guys.
He was
And
naughty?
they have around 3-year-old daughter, a little angel. And mom was trying to tell her that, listen, she pointed out about the calendar. They had the little god crawling around and throwing a rock and get the makhan out of that. He said, he's so cute. And why is throwing the rock there? To get the makhan better. Why? Why only
The
that?
daughter
Why
was
only
asking?
that part? Yeah, why only that part?
She's a smart,
And why
smart
only
little
that
girl.
makhan comes out of picture, that part? And she knew a little bit, but she told her mom that what's the concept behind only the makhan the God wanted. And then I heard, because I don't know much about this, that grandma was saying there is a concept, a mixture of 70% water and milk and all that, and that comes giving example the world made of 70% water and the rest that, and that was a very enlightening than I heard first time. That it was not because he preferred that makhan alone, butter alone, but how the butter was mixed and made. And the percentage of the milk and the makhan, butter and rest of the things which really points out how this earth is made up.
Universal,
and the
cosmic.
human being is made up because human being
Interesting.
has 70% water. So
Interesting. Well, you know, if you have kids, sometimes kids do steal butter out of the fridge. I mean, I have heard that. Like somehow kids like to steal butter. Usually it's not hanging from the rafters, it's usually in the fridge these days. But anyway, so he engages in these loving pastimes with his greatest devotees like Mother Yasoda, and their desires are just to have a personal relationship with him. They have no devotees, great devotees like that, they have no desire for liberation or power or residence, even in the spiritual world of Vaikuntha, or any material desires. Time. Yeah, you know Arjuna, who's Krishna's great devotee, the protagonist of Bhagavad Gita. So his mother Kunti Devi is a very, very great devotee. She has beautiful prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, the 8th chapter. Prabhupada used to chant those prayers whenever there were times of difficulty in the society. And in one of her prayers, she's thinking of this pastime of Mother Yasoda and Baby Damodar, and she's saying how she's bewildered, thinking here is the absolute truth, the source of all material and spiritual worlds, and he's running away, crying with his tear-streaked face in fear of Mother Yasoda, who's this simple village lady. She's just like a small lady from a dusty village. But he's like, have you ever heard this saying, The wind blows out of fear of the Supreme Lord. So fear personified, it says, is afraid of the Supreme Lord. So, but here, this Supreme Lord is running away in fear of Mother Yasoda. So Kunti Devi says she's bewildered by this sight. Very beautiful. So sends a message, to... And so, like the song we just sang in the temple room, the author of this song, Satyavrata Muni, he says that he just wants to say all those people who want to worship God in awe and majesty, he says he's only conquered by love that's devoid of all concepts of awe and reverence. And that all universes emanate from his belly, and he allows his belly to be bound not by ropes, but only the ropes of love of his great devotees like Mother Yasoda. So, he goes on to say all the residents of Vrindavan are just drowning in pools of ecstasy, loving him. And he just says, may that beautiful vision of Krishna's beautiful lotus face being kissed again and again by Mother Yasoda, may that be always manifest in my heart. And I don't want any kind of liberation. And thousands and millions of other benedictions are of no use to me. So beautiful, huh? So in conclusion, everybody, God or Krishna is sitting in our hearts. And he's listening to hear what is our desire. I like to say that he's kind of unemployed if we don't turn to him. He travels with us through all these species of life. Maybe we've all been demigods. Maybe we've been in animal bodies. Maybe we've been in so many human species before this one. But if we don't turn to him, if we don't ever turn to him and say, hey, my friend. Oh, my friend. Once I heard Gauravani say, someone asked, what's the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra? He said, oh, my friend. Oh, my friend. So beautiful, right? So if we don't turn to him, then he's a little bit unemployed. So we need to, I believe, move closer to love and maybe try to move a little bit away from fear, right? So many of us have a fear of God that we carry. But that Supreme Person who on the Bhakti path we call Krishna or Govinda is inviting us to reciprocate in a personal loving relationship with him in whatever way we choose, whatever way we want him. As a youth, as a lover, as a child, as a friend, however we want to love him. And he's also ready to break the pots of our misconceptions about him. So, and why is he ready to do that? Because he's really hungry for the sweet butter of our love. So thank you all so much. And maybe you have a question or a reflection or a takeaway, what was important for you here, or you might have a complaint, you might disagree with some of the things that I was saying. Anybody have any thoughts or takeaways or reflections or complaints or anything? Yes, Gauravani. Wait, Gauravani.
I've heard many times the analogy of the pearl and the thread, but I really liked, one thing I heard that Srila Prabhupada said is that in the tradition of bhakti, for an analogy or a metaphor to be strong, it has to be complete. That the more you dig into the analogy, the more you get from it. And I had never heard that bit about how the string is invisible when it's in, in healthy state, it's holding together. And how Krishna enjoys being unseen through all things.
Isn't that beautiful? So he's unseen for ordinary people like us, but he becomes seen by the great devotees of all traditions. So all over the world you have voices of people who are seeing God, and they're experiencing so much joy seeing God. So we can become like them if we want that. But we have to want it more than we want to become a CEO of Microsoft or whatever else. Anyway, there's some bad stuff about him. Anyway, yes, you have a question.
Not a question, I just want to make an observation. Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, the name denotes that she gives fame. So this particular month, so this particular month that she's such a great devotee that she was able to give even fame to Lord Krishna, so the entire month is celebrated as Damodar month. And this particular pastime is remembered with so much of relish. So the devotee is so big, is such a great devotee, Mother Yashoda, that she could actually give this entire month for Lord, and he's remembered as Damodara because of this particular pastime.
Beautiful, beautiful. And also the Radha, there she is over there if you want to see a picture of her. Yeah, and also Radharani in this month. Her mother is Kirtika also, that's about fame. So Radharani also gives fame and glorification. Yes? Haribol.
He was talking about pastimes of Mother Yashoda, and when he gave the microphone back to you, so to speak, you said, yes, Krishna, he breaks these pots. But that was a different story. Krishna sometimes steals from Mother Yashoda, and sometimes he steals from the village ladies. But they get very angry at him, more than Mother Yashoda. And they bring him to Mother Yashoda to be chastised, and he plays tricks. There's a story of the Brahmana's boy. Well,
There's one story where one of the village ladies, she was, like Mother Yashoda says, no, these are all stories. I have so much beautiful butter and yogurt at my house. I just don't believe that Krishna's going to your house when I have the best cows and the best butter. Why would he do that? So finally, one of her neighbors catches him red-handed. And she says, now I'm going to show your mother because I caught you. She's got him by the hand, and she's taking him to Mother Yashoda by the hand. And she gets to Mother Yashoda, and she says, my dear friend Yashoda, you see, this is your son. I caught him red-handed. He was in my house, making a mess, stealing butter. And Yashoda said, my dear friend, excuse me, but this is your own son that you have by the hand. So Krishna, right, he can take any form. And so he changed into the form of her own son. And then Krishna told her when she was walking away, he said, don't do that again, because next time I'm going to take the form of your husband. And then you're really going to be embarrassed. So yeah, you have a question or
yeah. No, it's not a question. What you explained about the bead,
the pearls
and the string, and you said it is invisible, but the string of Krishna is invisible with the completeness of those beads. And in order to see the invisibility, it has to break, So I was thinking, oh, she is right. The breaking, we have to break ourselves, our false ego, or whatever it is, in order to see that invisible thread. So
very nice point. Yeah, beautiful. We have to break our own ego to be able to see what's beyond our little tiny selves. Beautiful. Thank you so much. What else? Yes.
I just wanted to Krishna has been a big contributor to changing my perception from being God-fearing to God-loving. So I think that's something that takes time to change, because we have never got that, especially with Bal Gopal, it's a different level of interaction and changes the perception between being God-fearing to God-loving. That's all.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, so we want to change from fearing God to loving God. But in order to do that, we kind of, when you think about it, part of that is becoming a little bit of an obedient child. Okay, maybe I should try following a little bit of the right action, right thought, dharmic living. If I'm doing bad stuff all the time, that's why people really are fearing God, because they're doing bad stuff. And then they want to say, well, there's nothing after this life, it's just like, I heard today, we were on a podcast, someone said, after I'm dead, I just want to be dead. I don't know exactly how that works, but people don't want to know that there's anything after this life, because if there's any, I've been doing so much bad stuff. So we have to become responsible kids, and then the Father can turn over the whole kingdom, right? Yeah. Thank you, Shamila.
I think what really struck me is, who are we to limit what God can do, or how He wants to appear? If He wants to appear in any form, He'll do that. And here, as Krishna has shown how we can relate right from being a small baby to all the way to a statesman, king. So anytime anybody who wants to relate can ask just that one question: what did Krishna do during this situation? And they can completely relate. He was in separation, he was in grief, he was a statesman, and he had to deal with the Kauravas and the Pandavas. How did he do that? So on all aspects, I think Krishna is teaching us how we can go through our lives and learn so much.
So beautiful, such a good point. You reminded me actually when he went back to Mathura after his time in Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram, they were just apologizing to their so-called real parents or birth parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, and they were saying, please forgive us. We were never able to serve you as sons. We were very bad children, so please forgive us. And, so yeah, he shows so many good qualities, so much gratitude. Like I was thinking, my dear friend Lita, who's over there, she's a beautiful translator. Her original language is Persian or Farsi. And so she translates Rumi from the original language, not like these other guys who were just sort of, what do you call them? Type makers or something like that. Anyway, her translations are beautiful. I wanted to tell you, I just read this beautiful something from Rumi where he said, what is love? It is gratitude. He said, and what else is in your chest? This is so sweet. He said, what is love? It is gratitude. Maybe, I don't know if you know this one. What is love? It is gratitude. And then he said, what else is in your chest? And he said, laughter. And then he said, and compassion. So these realized souls who are seeing God all over the world. So, anything else? Yes.
Another verse of Rumi says
Yeah.
your heart has to keep breaking until it opens up.
Yeah. Yeah, that the light comes through the broken parts, right?
Yeah.
So we want to protect our hearts and barricade them. We don't want any relationships that will make them break. But the light is where the light comes in through the broken parts. So that's so wise. Yeah, so beautiful. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for taking the time.